Alright everybody, welcome. I'm going to show you how to install RLCraft on Forge in Linux on a Linux server. I'm going to do this on a Proxmox VM, so let's just get started here. Basically we're going to start with creating the VM, and we're going to call this RLCraft. We're not going to start it at boot, and we're going to move to the OS. We're going to install Debian 10.2 with a net installer ISO. It's just quick and easy. I'm going to change the graphics card to VirtIO GPU. We're going to install the QEMU agent for Proxmox. Use a UEFI boot. The VirtIO SCSI is fine, and the machine we're going to use is Q35. For the disk, we're going to choose VirtIO block. 32 gigs is fine for the hard disk. We're going to change it to write back unsafe with discard. This is a little bit faster, so it should be able to write to the hard drive a little bit faster with this. It is unsafe, so expect that if your server does crash, you might lose data, so choose what's best for you. We're going to choose 4 cores, even though my machine here has 8 CPUs. We're going to give it 4 cores because Minecraft doesn't actually need more than really 2. I'm going to give it 4 because that helps with the install of some things in the beginning. You can change it down to about 2 and be fine. The memory we're going to change to 16 gigs. So let's do calculator here. 16 times 1024 is 16,384. 16,384. And on this particular server, I'm not going to use a ballooning device. However, you can probably safely put it down to about 8 gigs ballooning, but I think right now we're going to just leave it at 16. For the network, I'm going to use this bridge port. I'm going to turn off the firewall, and the VirtIO network card is fine. So that looks really good, and we're going to go ahead and finish that. So we'll let that get started here, and we'll go to the console. So first of all, what we're going to do is install Linux with only SSH and server utilities, and we're going to go ahead and get that started. So we're going to start the VM. Yep. You can do this on a physical machine or on any other VM server that you use. If you have a hosted server, you can do this there too. If you've already got Debian pre-installed, you can kind of skip this setup stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do a graphical install. English, United States, American English, and let it install or load the components. So we're using CurseForge RLCraft. The page is here. I'm using instructions from linuxnorth.org on how to install a Minecraft server. I've modified it to support Forge and the mods for RLCraft. The RLCraft Discord link is here, and we'll get started. So we're just going to call this RLCraft for the host name. No domain name. And this isn't my server. This is what I'm going to provide when I'm done creating this. So the root password is just going to be password. Change this if you use the image I will provide. So that's fine. The username is going to be user. And similarly, the password is going to be password. If you are going to build your own, don't use password, use something else. I'm in Pacific time zone, so I'm going to choose Pacific. We're going to go ahead and use the entire disk, which is a 34 gig drive. And we don't need to do separate home partitions. all files in one partition is fine. And we're going to go ahead and write those changes. Alright, so as it installs, we'll go ahead and discuss some of the things we're going to do. So once we're finished installing and first booted, we're going to check the network configuration. I have an IP address I'm going to use on my local network. You're going to want to change it to what works for you and your network. And we're going to add, update the apt repositories to include contrib and none free for the defaults. And then we've got the stretch repository that we need to add for Open Jdk 8. And we'll do that actually after we've installed sudo and connected in SSH. If you're doing it locally, you can type this in manually, but we're going to copy it so I don't screw up anything here. Some of the software we're going to install is HaveGED that allows SSH to get some random entropy quicker using time and some other sources. So that if I don't have that installed, it takes a minute or two for SSH to be available upon booting the machine. So no, I don't have any other CDs. We're going to go ahead and use the United States location for Debian.org for our sources. No proxy. Make sure when you're doing this that if you need to change your locality of any of that stuff, you change it first. I'm doing this in the United States because that's where I'm located. Alright, so it's downloading and installing software. Sudo, I'm going to install because sudo is not pre-installed on Debian. So we're going to install that. htop is for resource monitoring. QEMU guest agent, because I'm in Proxmox, it uses QEMU. I'm going to use the QEMU guest agent. No, I don't want to participate. Aptitude, so that we can do some searching for packages later if we need. Alright, in the software selection of the install, we're going to uncheck the Debian desktop environment. Unless you're using this as a desktop server, you can uncheck that, because everything we're going to do is from the command line and SSH. So we uncheck print server because we're not going to use it as a print server. We will use it as an SSH server, and we will need the standard system utilities. Next is going to be screen. Screen is going to be used to start the Minecraft session in the background to keep it running when the machine boots up, and then we can resume that session and connect to the Minecraft server itself. And unzip, we're going to use unzip because gunzip doesn't extract the RLCraft zip file for some reason, and so that's what we're going to do. Once this is done installing and we've got all this installed, we'll install Open Jdk 8 JRE. We don't need to do anything special with choosing alternatives unless you're using Ubuntu that comes pre-installed with Java. Open Jdk 8 is what we're going to use. So this works with Minecraft, Forge. Using any other will crash Forge from my experience. Alright, so we're done installing and we're going to go ahead and reboot the server. Once we've done some of this, we'll get into SSH and we won't need to worry about this interface. Alright, we'll log in. Actually, we'll log in as root. Because everything we're going to do is actually through root. So we don't really need the user, but it's good. We need the user profile so that we can log in through SSH. So let's look at our IP address. And this is my DHCP address, so I don't want that address. So we're going to want to go ahead and sudo, we don't need sudo, nano etc network interfaces. And we're going to remove allow hot plug and change that to auto. And remove DHCP and change that to static. And change the address. So I have 172.31.4.101. And we're going to use /23. You're probably going to use a /24 CIDR, depending on your network. Or you may use DHCP, whatever works for you, but this is what I want for my network configuration. And my gateway is 172.31.4.1. Alright, that looks good. Now we systemctl restart networking. And check IP address has changed, 172.31.4.101, just like I wanted. Alright. Now we're going to edit the apt repositories. So nano etc apt sources.list. And we're going to come in here, main contrib non-free, contrib non-free, contrib non-free. Okay, screw that up. Non-free. And we'll apt update. Okay. Have ged sudo htop keymu guest agent aptitude screen and unzip. Alright, so now we're going to edit the group file so that we can add the user into the sudo. So that's done. And now we can actually exit. We don't need that anymore. So we're going to go ahead and open up PowerShell. And I need to delete that. Yep. So I just deleted my old keys. And we're going to connect to 101. Yes. And password. So now we can sudo su. Yep. Great. Now we're logged in as root. And we're going to nano etc apt sources again. And we're just going to copy these two lines here and put it at the end. Paste them in. So that's just adding stretch, because in stretch is where we can get the Open Jdk 8. So that's good. We'll do apt update one more time so it adds the stretch repositories. So apt install Open Jdk 8 JRE. Let that install. I could have done the Open Jdk 8 headless. That would have been less stuff to install, but I'm fine with the full install. So now we're going to make the directory for opt Minecraft, and that's where we're going to actually install Minecraft, Forge, and all that. So cd opt Minecraft, and basically we're going to download the Forge installer with wget. Okay. And while we're here, we're going to wget the RLCraft server pack. So we're going to copy that link. Okay. pretty painless. So next we're going to actually run the Forge installer. We're going to do Java jar Forge installer -- install capital S server. So this will stop because it's going to download all of the files needed, and basically installing Forge into that installation directory. Once we run Forge for the first time, it's going to stop prematurely. So actually, I don't need to do that. We can do Java jar. Actually, let's do this. We're going to rm Forge installer. So we can remove the Forge installer. Remove it like that. And Java jar Forge universal. And it's going to stop saying we didn't accept the EULA. Okay, failed to load. So now we need to edit the EULA to say, yes, I accept. And at this point, we can extract the RLCraft. So that installs all the mods for RLCraft. While we're here, let's go into the mods directory and wget the chunk pre-generator. The chunk pre-generator is good for servers because you can start pre-generating chunks for additional users and players. And we're going to just move back up. So that's good. We've got the chunk pre-generator installed in the mods folder. And in here, we're going to run Forge for the second time. Java, and I'll explain these commands. XMS is your minimum memory allocation for Java. I'm going to set it to 8 gigs since I gave my server 16. And XMX is the maximum, and I'm going to give that 15 gigs. And 15 because I want to have at least 1 gig of free space for the server itself. So jar Forge universal. So this is going to start Forge with all the mods for RLCraft, and you'll see it run. Expect a couple of warnings, or a lot of warnings. Expect some errors. This is normal. It's just going to go ahead and do its thing. It's also creating the default server.properties file in here, so we can modify that. That's why we need to run it a second time. And it's preparing the spawn area, so now it should start to calm down with errors. And once it's done preparing the spawn area, it's basically stopped, and then we can stop the server. So now we want to read the for servers only text file, and we want to change these settings in the server.properties file. Allow flight true, difficulty 3, max tick time of -1, and view distance of 6. So I just copied that, and we're going to go ahead and open up Notepad and set that off to the side so that I can copy that later, or write that in later, or write it in now. So we're going to nano server.properties. The max tick time of -1 allows infinitely long ticks because Forge or RLCraft has so many mods. It's going to cause tick time that may expand beyond the tick time max, and not. So setting it to -1 prevents it from crashing. Difficulty of 3 it says for the most difficult, but I'm going to set it to 2, which is normal. And where's allow flight? Allow flight to be true. And view distance of 6. While I'm here, I'm also going to change the level seed. I like to do it to the date of install, 2001-9, 12/28. You can set the level seed to whatever you want. And we'll change this to an RLCraft server. If you use Archon, you can enable the Archon. I'm not going to enable it now, but you can in the server.properties file. So we're going to save that. I'm done with that. Don't save. We'll just continue on. So our next step, because basically it's ready to go, we could run Forge now and start doing things, but what we want to do next is create a script file so that we can easily run it. So I'm going to do this basically by hand, except for some of it. So we'll just do copy and paste. So nano RLCraft.sh, and our first command in our script here is going to change the directory to the Minecraft folder. And then the next command is to run. Let's make sure it looks good. So I've got these settings. It is supposed to use parallel threads for Java. Might support some more threads, but I don't believe it actually does. But this is good. I've already got the memory settings to 8 and 15 gigs, like I said before. All the other items in there kind of is supposed to be a little bit more performance for Java. So we're done with that. We'll save it. And we're going to chmod, make that executable. Good. So now we can start it from the RLCraft .sh file. So we're going to do ./RLCraft to execute it. And we'll let that start. And again, we're going to want it to come to a point where it's calmed down to where we will run the pre-generator for the chunks. I'm going to do a small start radius for the chunk pre-generation, but I just want to go through it to show you what's going on. Alright, it's preparing the spawn area. Looks like it's done. Which I'm wondering if it's used that seed, but it's okay. Alright, so pre-gen utils set priority pre-generator. So that allows the pre-generator to take priority during this setup. So pre-gen time per tick 250 milliseconds, and pre-gen start radius square from 0, 0. And I'm just going to do 500. You're going to want to do 10,000 because you want to give that space for the pre-generator to start generating the chunks. This is going to generate about 3,800 chunks. You'll see a bunch of warnings because the mods are running to try and generate these chunks, and they may be conflicting and all that stuff, so, and causing a lot of lag. But you don't have any users on, so the lag's okay. doing the full 10,000 chunks or 10,000 block radius is going to take a long time. Can take 8 to 24 hours depending on your server. That's why I'm doing such a small radius now. And no failed. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and stop the server now since we've got the chunks pre-generated. And we can reboot the server, but we don't need to yet. So the next step we're going to do is enable rc.local as a service. It's not enabled by default in Debian 10, so we need to create a service to run the rc.local script. So we're going to do nano etc systemd system rc local.service and copy this and go ahead and exit that, so that looks good. Now we're going to do systemctl enable rc local. So it's created the symlink and basically created it so it's enabled. And now we need to nano etc rc.local and bin sh, and I can type this out. We're going to do screen detached with the session name of Minecraft, and we're going to run opt Minecraft RLCraft.sh and then exit 0. And that's basically it. I can start the service right now if I wanted to, but what I'm going to do is just go ahead and shut down the server. So power off, so that I can come back here, and this is a perfect time. Since I've done the pre-gen, I've done all the scripts, I've done everything else, and I've shut down the server. Right now is a great time to do a backup, and we're going to do a full stop backup and gzip. So that should create a smaller backup file. This will only take a few minutes. So what we'll be able to do is log back. Once we booted, it should automatically run that script file in screen, and we'll be able to reconnect that session and see the server console and be able to start Forge and get connected, or start Forge on my local machine here and get connected to that server. So while this is backing up, so Linux North has a great guide of all the steps to do to starting your own Minecraft server. If you want a vanilla server, this is a great way to move forward with it. It's basically all things I did here, except for it doesn't take into consideration all the RC or the RLCraft stuff. So head to linuxnorth.org. They have additional things to do if you want. If you want to do it on Raspberry Pi, vanilla server, all that stuff. So good resource. And this is almost done. So it's a good idea to do a backup just in case. Well, I'm doing it so I can provide this as a VM available. But it's a good idea to do a backup if you're doing this manually yourself, just because in case the server crashes, you can come back to exactly the same starting point. So that's good. And I'm also going to do a snapshot RLCraft installed. I don't need the RAM. RLCraft and all scripts installed. All right. So if you want to take this backup offline or move it to a new server, you can do that with snapshots. This is, I can revert back to, day one. So we're going to go ahead and start the server. And we're going to go ahead and log in as user again, password, and sudo su, password. And now, screen-r, Minecraft. I forgot to, okay, chmod plus executable. I forgot to modify that. Okay, so I'm going to systemctl, power off again. And we're going to create a new backup. So my mistake, I forgot to make that rc.local file executable, so it didn't start the screen session. So redo the backup so you don't have to do it if you're using my backup file. And actually I can close that and create a new snapshot. Script fix rc.local file script executable. I'm going to take a snapshot. Of course it is. Can't do a snapshot while it's doing backups. That's okay. So what I'll do on here is modify this. Exit 0. And make rc.local executable. x etc.rc.local. There we go. Alright, backup's done. And let's start it again. Okay. There it is. So there it's running. I use screen -R Minecraft to connect to the server, and I can also do Control AD to detach from that session, so I can just log off from SSH. So there we go. So we'll leave that up. We will minimize everything else. We'll go ahead and start my Forge, my RLCraft. And we'll see Forge. Come on. There you are. And I think I can do seed. So yeah, it's not using my seed file. That's okay. I think I need to delete the world and then recreate it, but that's alright. Alright, so let's see if I can resize this a little bit. And multiplayer. I'll delete both of these guys. We'll add a server. RLCraft. And 172.31.4.101. An RLCraft server. And we should see me connect here. There I am. Roster Grim joined the game. And, oh wow. Landed on dirt this time. There we go. RLCraft. Love it when there is no... Oh. Great. Yeah. Awesome. of course. Anyways, RLCraft is installed. It's working. I'm dying correctly, and that's how you do it. And I think I'm done. So good luck, and I will be in the Discord if any support is needed, for the most part. But Discord is a great place, great resource for other assistance. See you next time.